When I find myself in an argument I can't win or one that I don't even want to start, I like to shut down my opponents by calling them tone deaf. It's a way to say, hey man, your ideas are really insensitive and inappropriate right now. This is not the time or place for you to be saying that. So I move from discussing to accusing, and I say their willingness to argue with me right now is a personal flaw or a sign of poor character. So I get to sidestep the fact that my evidence is weak or that their evidence is strong and end the argument without conceding. Now, when I call someone tone deaf, I'm simultaneously high-roading them while suppressing their free speech by judging them for speaking. I imply that it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. We can figure that out later. What matters is that sympathy or humanity dictates that only my side of the argument is appropriate to speak at this time. And the simple fact that they want to have this discussion right now shows that something's wrong with them. It's a great way to silence my opposition and keep others from hearing whatever sound logic or valid points of view they have. Tone deaf is a pretty powerful trick, and it's jam-packed with hubris. I'm basically saying that when even timeless or well-established truths or pillars of our cultural or personal development intersect with cherry-picked, ever-changing current events, the emotional nature of current events always gives them the moral right of way. Of course, all of this only applies when it serves my interest. Now, as a woke person, calling someone tone deaf also affords me the benefit of maintaining a facade of tolerance while being intolerant. I can tell someone that they technically have the right to disagree with me, but that it reflects poorly on them to exercise that right. So I can be judgmental and socially tyrannical while maintaining the illusion of wokeness, tolerance, and the belief in a non-binary subjective reality where everyone has their own truth. It's just that their truth happens to reek of insensitivity. So my ability to tolerate their insensitivity just shows how woke I am, and my willingness to call them out on it shows how much courage I have. Now, as a wokeaholic, I also have to maintain the facade of non-triggeredness. Triggers often mean that I have issues in my own life that are brought to the surface by somebody else's actions or beliefs. But I can bypass that process by calling someone insensitive. When they concede, they enable me to continue not dealing with my past trauma, my sacred cows, my false beliefs. I get to keep it buried inside. Now, I know the phrase tone deaf itself is tone deaf. It's insensitive to people who are actually physically tone deaf because it connects their physical disability to a character flaw. It creates an air of shame or judgment around a physical disability. I mean, you wouldn't figuratively use the words blind or lame in front of someone who's literally blind or lame, right? But most people haven't thought of that, so I can still use the phrase all the time. Now, in the future, when people wake up to this, I'll probably be retroactively judged for my insensitivity, or at least for not being anti-insensitive, and my statue will be pulled down. But I'm not worried about that because I'll be dead, and in the meantime, I'll have gotten my way more often with people that don't have the courage or intelligence to call me out. Now, does that mean that I eliminate high-quality people from my life and end up surrounded by gullible, uncourageous people? Calling someone tone deaf is a pretty unique rhetorical device. I'm not sure I've ever seen anything quite like it. One reason is that sometimes it's actually valid. Sometimes a person really is being insensitive or inappropriate. For example, you shouldn't stand up at someone's funeral and say, hey, he still owes me $100. I mean, it may be valid, it may be indisputable, but almost everyone would agree that that would be the wrong place and time. So it requires tact, sensitivity, and judgment to know when to apply it, and those aren't so easy to quantify. That means that there are no hard, fast rules that tell us when tone deafness applies, so I just use it whenever I want with flimsy justification. For example, my friend sent me a picture of her new dining room table the other day. It triggered some jealousy in me, so I responded, I know you like your new kitchen table, but a tree just fell in my car last year. Showing me pictures of your new table right now is really tone deaf. My gullible, uncourageous friend conceded and apologized for being so insensitive. She promised to check her car insurance privilege. Her concession also gave me social capital that I could use in the future to negotiate a truce with her when I do something that is genuinely insensitive. I won in so many ways. Now, logical fundamentalists don't like it when I use this tactic. They say it's a dirty trick. They call it an ad hominem attack or an attack on a person's character or personal traits to undermine their argument. They say it may also be an appeal to emotion because I'm soliciting sympathy for my cause instead of bringing forth evidence that what I'm saying is true. To a logical fundamentalist, both ad hominem attacks and appeals to emotion are considered fallacies. You should stay away from them. They're very binary. As a public official, this is a great tool in my personal and social media relationships, but it's especially effective in politics. Telling my opposition that our current climate makes this a very insensitive time to be opposing me seems to really pull at the heartstrings of the public. And then I can delay the conversation long enough to get my policies passed, and we can discuss their opposition to it when it's too late and the debate is no longer relevant. Since I know this tactic is out there, I'm always watching for someone who might use it against me. So when someone accuses me of being tone deaf, I have a list of questions I can ask myself. Questions like, who benefits from my silence? Who suffers from my silence? Would it change anything important if we had this discussion later? Did I start this discussion out of nowhere, or did they? Did they only call me tone deaf when their arguments failed? And ultimately, do I really know what I'm talking about? Am I afraid to be wrong? Am I in this conversation because it's triggered something in me that makes me feel compelled to participate? And finally, am I speaking out of fear or love? Those are some good questions I ask myself to see if I'm being tone deaf. But if other people learn these tools, I won't be able to use this trick anymore.